चुनाव की जबरदस्त सरगर्मी है। असेंबली इलेक्शंस चल रहे हैं और ये नारा खूब लग रहा है कि भाई हमारा नेता कैसा हो। तो जब क्रिकेट टीम की बात आती है तो हमारा सबसे बड़ा प्रश्न है कि हमारा कोच कैसा हो। तो इसका जवाब बीसीसीआई ने दे दिया है। राहुल द्रविड़ हमारे कोच रहेंगे, उनको एक्सटेंशन मिल चुका है। इस पे हम लोग इस शो पे काफी बात कर भी चुके हैं। CS and Sandeep are with me. CS's views are pretty clear right from day one. He never thought much of Rahul Dravid as a coach, but Rahul Dravid will continue. Sandeep has very definite views that how important coaches are in other formats in other genres like soccer may not be as important in cricket. But the great Shane Warne once said, "Coach, that is something you travel in." So it just showed how little he thought of coaches, but in cricket, they do have a role to play. Sandeep is on his way somewhere, so we've trapped him in his car. So I do not know how long the connectivity will be there. So let me begin with Sandeep. Sandeep, when it comes to Rahul Dravid as a coach and going by his record, which is not very good at all, and if you compare it with somebody like Gary Kirsten and the 4 foreign coaches that India has had, so Gary is the most successful. Under him, India won the 2011 ODI World Cup. And after that, it also figured as the number one test side for some time. Since then, it has been a story of decline under Indian coaches. Nothing very dramatic has happened. What are your thoughts?
I think the comparison probably is slightly wrong here in the sense that, I still believe and I still rate this team probably as one of the best, if not the best, because you can have multiple arguments on what is the best and what is one of the best. But I do believe one thing is that in cricket now, especially, coaches have a very large role to play because it just goes beyond skill and talent. At that particular level, irrespective of any sport in the world, I don't think a coach comes down and tells you how to bat or how to bowl or how to play a certain particular sport, or probably to showcase a particular skill. I think at that particular level, especially when you're playing a semi or a final, I think, as we had once spoken just before the final, I recall, is that the coach also needs a particular edge, and at that edge comes from multiple finals. That edge comes from how sharp a coach is in doing some changes that actually turn not only the team but turn the contest around. And I think by and large, the feeling that we get in India, the feeling that we journalists get, the feeling that when we read multiple stuff about Rahul Dravid, he's basically, and I don't want to box him into that because it's highly unfair also. But largely, he's a under 19. He's a kind of a guy who runs an academy full on. He's the kind of a guy that you have an under 17, under 18, under 19, under 21 guys looking up to because he's been such a great player. I think at this level, he probably 5 to 10%, and CS and you can correct me on this. I think he plays a little safe. He wants to be in a particular comfort zone where it's very difficult for him to take a decision.
Okay,
But
okay, Sandeep.
I just want to
Sandeep,
extend this point is that
yeah,
I think one also needs to understand Dravid and the BCCI and the Indian conditions and the
I'll,
Indian culture. I think Dravid,
I'll come to that, Sandeep.
yeah,
But
sorry.
when we are talking about coaches the world over, I'll go to CS a little while later. Please bear with me, CS. The main point is when we are talking about successful cricket coaches the world over, they are known by the silverware that they have bought on the cabinet and how successful they have been. You are giving him credit for assembling possibly one of the most terrific teams that India has ever seen. Agreed. But under Dravid, India lost the 3 Test series in South Africa. 1-2 rescheduled test in England was also lost. India's qualification for the WTC final was largely seen on the strength of their dominance and a series win in Bangladesh. And also, they lost that match. And in the 2022 T20 World Cup, many experts felt the Indian team was dated and unthreatening. And also, one other point which both CS and you have made in this recently concluded ODI final, which is that the coach seemed to be afraid of stirring things up, of introducing that one element which you have repeatedly hit, whoever that may have been, Ashwin, anybody, rather than keeping that sameness which cost us so dearly. So looking at the Dravid legacy quickly in hindsight, what are your thoughts again?
I think it's a very difficult decision to not continue with him. And I'm being very fair here with the BCCI and with everybody, simply because at the end of the day, when we give players 2 years, 1 year, 1.5 years, even up till 2.5 years to come good, why can't we give a coach also at that particular time? Because world over, you don't see, this is not the English Premier League where suddenly you lose 7 matches on the trot. You get sacked because you have fan pressure. You have a lot of other pressures, which is not here. So I think the call was probably just to take that continuity a little forward. And for somebody who's won you 10 matches on the trot in the World Cup is also no small feat. And that also at home under that massive pressure. Yes, the final didn't go our way. And I do believe that maybe Dravid miscalculated. Maybe Dravid was a little too soft on that final. Maybe Dravid was a little too comfortable in the zone that he was in, and he couldn't make those decisions. Maybe somebody else out there, somebody who was sharp enough to understand, like a Pat Cummins probably, and their coaching management, that so what if we lose? Let's take a gamble here. I think a final is also about taking a gamble, and I think Dravid probably failed there. But to have him sacked immediately, I think probably would have been an unfair call.
सीएस मैं आपके पास आता हूं, यहाँ पे दो नाम चल रहे थे, एक वीवीएस लक्ष्मण का कि उनको ऑफर किया गया, उन्होंने मना कर दिया, आपके पास वो कारण क्या थे आपको पता है? और दूसरा आशीष नेहरा का भी नाम लिया जा रहा है, ये अनकन्फर्म्ड है, लेकिन लखनऊ सुपर जायंट्स के लिए उन्होंने बेहतरीन काम किया है। आप पर्सनली आशीष नेहरा को बहुत अच्छे तरह जानते हैं, आप क्या सोचते हैं इन तमाम पहलू पर?
देखिए, एज पर माई इंफॉर्मेशन आशीष नेहरा पिक्चर में नहीं था। मे बी आई कुड बी रॉन्ग, मतलब कि जितना मेरा बात हुआ, देयर वाज टू पीपल, वीवीएस लक्ष्मण एंड राहुल द्रविड़। अब पॉइंट ये था कि वीवीएस लक्ष्मण probably played little smart. He knew the next assignment is going to be in South Africa, one, then the World Cup T20. Obviously, both Dravid and VVS Lakshman are not very comfortable with the T20 format. Okay, if you ask anybody in the BCCI, I don't know about Mr. Jaisha because he's incommunicable and he knows cricket more than anybody else there in the BCCI. But Indian team में अभी तक ये BCCI का ये अभी डिसाइड नहीं हो पाया। माइंडसेट की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, that you should have a different coach for T20. वनडे एंड जो टेस्ट क्रिकेट है उसमें आपका फॉर्मेट सेम हो सकता है, आपकी स्ट्रेटजी सेम हो सकती है, आपको इनिंग्स बिल्ड करनी है, आपको थोड़ा लॉन्गर स्पेल इन द सेंस, वहाँ तो कितना भी करो, यहाँ पर 10 ओवर इज क्वाइट ए स्पेल इन वन डे, तो वो एक अलग हो सकता है। देयर वाज ऑलवेज ए डिस्कशन गोइंग ऑन बिफोर मिस्टर जयशाह केम इन दैट देयर शुड बी टू कोचेस, और इन बिटवीन ऐसा हुआ भी ड्यूरिंग रवि शास्त्री टाइम, ही टुक ए ब्रेक एंड समबडी एल्स टुक ओवर, और मतलब कि T20 में यू हार्डली नीड एनीथिंग, सो दैट वाज सो प्रोबेबली VVS Lakshan little bit played little safe that he had some family commitments and he cannot be away from family for so long, continuously. So they left with only one choice, that is Mr. Rahul Dravid. Great jinka contribution, as Sandeep was saying, 10 मैचेस ऑन ट्रॉट, वो भी ठीक है, लेकिन उससे पहले का भी 2013 में जब पूरा स्पॉट फिक्सिंग का केस हो रहा था, ही वाज कैप्टनिंग राजस्थान साइड एंड ही कुड वेल बी, ही वाज द ओनली वन हु वाज नॉट कॉल्ड फॉर एनी क्वेश्चनिंग, ही वाज द ओनली वन हु वाज नॉट नेवर बीइंग क्वेश्चनड और रादर बीइंग गिवन प्रमोशंस एंड प्रमोशन, सो ही हैज ग्रेट कंट्रीब्यूशन फॉर दैट मैटर। एनीवे, aside पॉइंट इज, जब आपके पास एक आदमी रह जाता है, देन यू हैव अनदर पर्सन। राहुल द्रविड़ हिमसेल्फ इज अ वेरी वेरी सेफ बैट्समैन, ही वाज ऑलवेज बीन ए सेफ बैट्समैन। देन यू हैव अनुराग ठाकुर प्रॉक्सी देयर, उनकी बुआ का लड़का विक्रम राठौर, वो भी वहां पर एज ए बैटिंग कोच है। इन दोनों ने मिलकर टीम को 36 पे भी, ये तो नहीं थे उस वक्त पे, कोई और थे, बट उनका कंट्रीब्यूशन भी कमाल है। चाहे 36 पे टीम आउट हो या कोलैप्स हो या हारे या जीते, वो परमानेंट रहते हैं बिकॉज ही हैज हिज ओन बैकिंग। तो ये जो टीम रिवॉल्व कर रही है इन लोगों के अगेंस्ट कर रही है, और जब टीम अच्छा करती है, आई ऑलवेज बिलीव वेदर इट वाज जॉन राइट्स टीम और गैरी कस्टन टीम, वो एक गोल्डन जनरेशन थी गैरी कस्टन को मिली। गैरी कस्टन वाज वेरी स्मार्ट, आपको बताया ना, किट बैग भी उठा लेंगे किसी को भी, बट ही नेवर टुक पंगा विद द मेन स्टार्स। तो ये लोगों को भी, बिकॉज़ राहुल
एक पॉइंट पे मैं आना चाहता हूं आपके पास फिर से, और वो ये है कि इंग्लैंड ऑस्ट्रेलिया जो इस तरह की टीमें हैं, इन्होंने दो अलग अलग सेट ऑफ कोचेस और मैनेजमेंट स्टाफ रखा है फॉर द व्हाइट बॉल फॉर्मेट एंड फॉर द रेड बॉल। तो हम लोग क्यों नहीं कर सकते? क्या कोई दबाव है या डरते हैं या प्रॉब्लम क्या है?
वो कहते हैं कौन कौन ये घंटी बांधेगा कौन, क्योंकि यहाँ पर बिल्ली नहीं है, यहाँ पर शेर है, मतलब कि सो कॉल्ड बनाया गया शेर, तो उनके घंटी कौन बांधेगा, उनको समझाएगा कौन? वो ठीक है, इज ए गुड, मतलब कि बैकिंग अच्छा है, उनके अगेंस्ट कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं कर सकता, बट पॉइंट इज जैशा हैज टू बी टोल्ड दैट यू नीड डिफरेंट कोचेस फॉर डिफरेंट फॉर्मेट्स, एंड स्पेशली एज मैं अगर इफ यू आस्क मी, मुझे लगता है व्हाइट बॉल को भी भूल जाइए आप, वनडे और टेस्ट के लिए अलग रखिए, और T20 इज ए कंप्लीट डिफरेंट फॉर्मेट, एंड इन फैक्ट आफ्टर रोहित एंड विराट एंड ये 2-3 लोग जाएंगे जो बड़े प्लेयर्स हैं, यू डोंट एक्चुअली रिक्वायर द मेन स्टार्स फॉर T20 फॉर्मेट। T20 में बिल्कुल डिफरेंट आपको प्लेयर्स चाहिए, जो कि हु आर मोर एजाइल, हु आर मोर इनटू टेकिंग रिस्क। सूर्य कुमार यादव, ही इज प्रूविंग सच ए गुड लीडर, but he was probably a failure as a batsman in one day and test cricket तो उनको चांस ही बहुत रेयर मिला। तो इसलिए यू नीड ए डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रेटजी, डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ माइंडसेट, और राहुल द्रविड़ से आप ये एक्सपेक्ट नहीं कर सकते, उनका पूरा जितना भी प्लेइंग करियर अबाउट 2 डेकेड्स का था, या उनका रिलेशनशिप विद द टीम, हिज रिलेशनशिप, और जो आज्ञा मानना गुरु ग्रेग का पूरी टीम से पंगा लेना, ही वाज नेवर बीन ए वेरी लाइकेबल मैन की जिसको आप एडजस्ट करवा सको, जिनको वो करवा सको, बट एनीवे देयर वाज ए नो चॉइस एट ऑल एज far as I knew, and I knew नहीं, मतलब कि जो मेरा बात हुआ इनके अनाउंसमेंट के बाद, there was no choice for BCCI and he is there for only till T20 World Cup, उसके बाद का भी कुछ नहीं है। There is no specific time frame that has been given to this new team including Mr. and maybe इसके बाद भी मैं आपको एक प्रिडिक्ट कर दूं कि शायद बैटिंग को जो बड़े कमाल के आपके विक्रम राठौर जी, वो शायद रहेंगे, भैया के साथ रहेंगे।
Sandeep, the next big challenge for Rahul Dravid over and above the South Africa tour, where there will be 2 test matches, and they are saying that it is the purest in him which has brought him back. But more important than that would be the T20 World Cup in June. Now, like CS is indicating, now you have a batting coach called Vikram Rathore, bowling coach Paras Mamre, fielding coach T. Phillip, and of course Rahul Dravid himself, who was never a very successful white ball player. Your thoughts?
I think just going by what CS said, I think largely when it comes to a T20 World Cup, I do agree with him that Dravid is probably the wrong choice. And maybe the one point I'll try to make along with that is that in India, I think a lot of people probably just don't want to coach the Indian team. I don't know what are the reasons. CS knows best. What are the reasons why Ashish Nehra didn't want to do it? But the pressure that comes from within the team when you have superstars, that's number one. The pressure that comes from social media, where you have former cricketers who are also coaching on social media platforms and saying this player needs to be dropped and why didn't this happen and that happen. I think those are the modern challenges. You see it in the English Premier League where people like Gary Neville and all of these guys and Roy Keane sitting down there and talking about Man United's loss and telling Ten Hag, how to coach a team. I think the same set of patterns you see in Indian cricket, because you become so powerful, you become so good, you've got such a huge league. So I think probably it was just a lack of people at the end of the day. And I honestly didn't want to see VVS Lakshman as a T20 coach as much as I don't want to see Rahul Dravid as a T20 coach. Absolutely. Yes, you need an Ashish Nehra kind of a character who has understood the game, one, who also probably understands the player's psyche, and the players probably can have a joke with him, can, just run around with him. Because in a T20 format, how much coaching do you require? One is managing a team and one is adapting to a process. These guys have already come through a process, and CS, as he says, it is only red ball where you require a process over a test match where a Rahul Dravid probably fits in, where you look up to him that, okay, first day, second day, third day, what are we supposed to do? T20 is the wrong calling, and I just hope it doesn't go horribly wrong for Dravid.
संदीप, इनफैक्ट जब बात चल रही है, इंटरेस्टिंग चीजें हैं कि पहले भी कोचेज एक ऐसे बेनाम, खैर नाम लेना अच्छा नहीं है, सब लोग जानते भी हैं और सब लोग फिर वही कहते हैं कि शायद पर्सनल हो गए। पर्सनल नहीं, बट ऐसे कोचेज भी रहे हैं जो स्टार्स नहीं थे, लाइक राहुल द्रविड़ इज ए स्टार, और
Yeah.
वीवीएस लक्ष्मण आया, वो भी स्टार होगा, तो ये ईगो क्लैशेस होते हैं। उससे पहले कुछ होते थे, प्लेयर जाते थे, पाजी यहाँ क्या करा, दिल से खेलो, जोर लगा देना। वो कहते जोर कैसे लगाना, वहां कुछ स्ट्रेटेजी चाहिए थी, वी वांटेड टू आस्क समबडी, और वो कह रहे दिल से खेलो। दिल से खेलने से नहीं होता, यू नीड स्पेसिफिक स्ट्रेटेजीज फॉर स्पेसिफिक इमरजेंसी काइंड ऑफ सिचुएशंस। अब यहाँ पर प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि विक्रम राठौर से आप एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे कि एक बैट्समैन लाइक विराट कोहली और रोहित शर्मा go and ask for some technical adjustment? You really believe so? मैं गुरु ग्रेग चैपल से करे, उनकी प्रॉब्लम ये थी कि उनको लगता है सब कुछ उनको आता, वो विकेट लेके खुद ही खेलना शुरू हो जाते थे। वो वीरेंद्र सहवाग को बताने लग जाते थे नेट पे कि देखो मैं सिंगल विकेट से कैसे खेल रहा हूँ। मतलब कि वो उनका अलग डोमिनेंस था, उनकी प्रॉब्लम थी सुपेरिटी वाली, और यहाँ प्रॉब्लम है इन्फेरिटी वाली। तो आप जाकर के किससे पूछोगे? तो आपने बीच बीच में स्टोरी सुनी होगी, हम जैसे कभी गावस्कर से थोड़े टिप्स ले लिए, कभी कोई और बाहर का आया उनसे कुछ टिप्स ले लिए, स्टीव वॉल से ले लिए। वो टिप्स इसलिए लेते बिकॉज दे अंडरस्टैंड दैट विक्रम राठौर इज नॉट गोइंग टू हेल्प देम टेक्निकली। उसको अगर वो ठीक होता तो स्लिप पे हर रोज कैच दे करके अपना करियर में खराब कर दिया होता। मतलब कि आई एम नॉट ट्राइंग टू बी वेरी पर्सनल, बट द पॉइंट इज
yes,
यू नीड
yes,
नेम्स with specific and very, जो कहते हैं ना, रिजल्ट ओरिएंटेड काइंड ऑफ स्किल्स। वो कैसे आएगी?
okay.
इफ यू आर ए ग्रेडेड कोच। वो कैसे आएगी? इफ यू आर ए गुड ट्रेनर, आपने बहुत अच्छी साइंटिफिक आपको नॉलेज है। इन लोगों को साइंटिफिक जीरो है, इनको सिर्फ एक पता है, दिल से खेल लो, जोर लगा लो, मर जाओ, कूद जाओ। ऐसे नहीं क्रिकेट खेली
Yes,
जाती।
प्रशांत
जॉन
सिन्हा
बुकानन
है, और ये सवाल है कि why is Vikram Rathod a permanent fixture in our setup?
He's a permanent fixture in plain words because he's a relative of Mr. Anurag Thakur. Anurag Thakur is number 2 in the cricket hierarchy, and despite being sacked by the Supreme Court, he became even more powerful, and he's the one who is controlling cricket right now, along with Mr. Shah.
Oh,
In
Yeah,
simple
Sandeep.
two-liner.
Okay, thank you. Sandeep.
no, I just want to compare on a very different level. I think we all agree and we have seen the Alex Ferguson era in Man United, a team that had people like Roy Keane, Neville, Giggs, Ronaldo. They were all controlled by one man. There was nothing about skill and talent. There was no lack of that in that particular United team that went on and won multiple EPLs and Champions Leagues and all of that. The big man out there was Alex. Can Indian cricket bring out a big man like this who can control? When I say control, I use it with a lot of respect. Control a team that has superstars and tell them exactly what to do when. And those 11 players can stand in a line, or those 15, 16, and they listen to one coach. I think in the Indian cricket scenario, because of the cultural and the way we are all brought up in a way, I think it's extremely difficult now to find one man who probably will hold the reins in terms of following a process and also being respected as a coach. I think to a large extent, because of Dravid's silence on a large number of matters, I think he's probably in that seat because he's non-controversial. He doesn't touch on anything. He doesn't go around trying to kick a few asses in the team. I think that way he's okay for the BCCI. You bring in Alex kind of a guy and he will put Roy Keane on the bench. You bring in Alex kind of a guy, he'll also put Ronaldo on the bench, and then he will stand up to it because no player has that kind of power to stand up to a coach like that. And that coaching prowess comes from winning multiple titles. And I think that's probably where Rahul Dravid might lose out, because at the end of the day, you can't really call him. I don't know. I'll just put this question to you. Can you call Rahul Dravid an all-out winner? I can't.
And one more thing, Sandeep, जब आपने कहा कैन यू ब्रिंग इन सम स्टार काइंड ऑफ पर्सनालिटी, स्टार काइंड ऑफ पर्सनालिटी इन इंडियन क्रिकेट, लाइक जैसे मैं कहूँ बिशन सिंह बेदी थे, बहुत आउटस्पोकन थे, उनका टाइम बहुत पहले खत्म हो गया. देन केम गावस्कर was asked so many times, but he has so much other commitments and he also understands the star power. He's a very, very smart, very shrewd man. He always refused. वो जब एक आधी बार टीम को हेल्प भी किया, वो भी आउट ऑफ देयर वाज नो अदर चॉइस. सब कोई बीमार पड़ गया, कुछ और प्रॉब्लम होगी और अब देश से बाहर थे, थोड़ा बहुत कर दिया. अदरवाइज दे आर वेरी स्मार्ट. कपिल केम एज ए कोच वंस, एंड व्हाट हैपेंड देयर. द पेस बॉलर्स देयर हु यूज्ड टू बी junior to him while playing under him, they used to literally abuse him on the faces. और थोड़ा सा साइड पे हुआ है क्या, मतलब कि आई हैव सीन दैट विद माय आईज. कौन आप अपनी बेइज्जती करवाना चाहोगे अपने अपने स्टार प्लेयर से? द स्टार पावर इज सो मच इन इंडियन क्रिकेट दैट यू आइदर नीड जॉन राइट काइंड ऑफ पीपल, और मे बी गैरी कस्टन वाज लिटिल बिट स्मार्ट. उसने 4-5 को खिलाता रहा, बाकी सबको बोला जो करना करो. बट इफ देयर इज एनी स्टार कम्स और वो थोड़ी भी कोशिश करता, चाहे वो कपिल था या ग्रेग चैपल था या कुछ, उसको बुरी तरह से, जैसे कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड में होता है ना आपका, तो बीसीसीआई यूज्ड टू ग्रेग चैपल ने क्या किया क्या नहीं, इसके दो पहलू. बहुत लंबा स्टोरी है. I have covered during that time extensively Indian cricket.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. We've really run out of time. Sandeep, closing comments, please.
Yeah, just one very quick point. I mean, I'll just give you the Indian hockey perspective. You have Craig Fulton as coach now. The only reason, and I'm not saying only in a different sense, is that the man has already taken, Ireland to a bronze medal at the European Championships, which is equivalent of Nepal winning a bronze at the Asian Games. Okay. Then he has taken Belgium as his assistant coach to the Olympic Championship, Olympic gold. He has taken Belgium to the World Championship gold. He has taken Belgium to World Cup runners-up. When the Indian team stands there, they look at a guy who's been in charge of a team that has won Olympic gold, the World Cup gold, and been World Cup runners-up. So there's a tremendous amount of respect that goes over there, and I think that is exactly what is required for Indian cricket now for this particular team.
Okay, last question, Sandeep, has come in from a viewer for you, which says that question for Sandeep, sir. Do we need a foreign coach? Even before you reply, my answer is yes, we need a foreign coach. Please, ab aap boliye.
I think we require a foreign coach. I think sometimes it's very comfortable to fall back on an Indian coach, and I think this country in itself and the popularity of the sport and the way the money has come in and the way the IPL governs everything and the way the social media has kicked in, I think the only person who can ever handle this from the outside and who understands what is really required is probably a very smart, slick guy who, number one, of course, understands cricket, but at the same time also understands how to power and manage a team, not coach a team, but manage a team. I think that's the essential part.
CS, closing comments, please. 30 seconds.
I don't think we need a foreign coach. Simply because I've seen what has happened with other coaches. या उन्होंने उनके बूट उठाए हैं, किट्स उठाई है, या फिर वो या फिर गाली गलौज के साथ गुरु ग्रेग की तरह बाहर हुए हैं. So we need foreign expertise to train our coaches. our train जो हमारे कोचेज हैं, उनका बहुत माइंडसेट है कि बैटिंग का ये बता होता. यू नीड ए वेरी डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ कोच, जो कि फिजिकल ट्रेनिंग, जो आपके साइकोलॉजिकल आपको कहें, आपको बूस्ट अप करना, इन सब चीजों में भी ट्रेंड हो. हमारे कोचेस उसमें नहीं है. जॉन बुकानन आई ऑलवेज रिमेंबर बिकॉज ही वाज अ वेरी वेरी ट्रेन्ड पर्सन एंड वेरी ही लास्टेड लॉन्ग आल्सो इन द ऑस्ट्रेलियन टीम, और कितने टाइटल्स जिताए. यू नीड फॉरेन एक्सपर्टीज हु कैन कम हियर, train our coaches, train our physical trainers, train our physiotherapists, all these. And BCCI, despite all the money, they don't want to do that. They don't want to develop the skills in cricket. They want to develop their coffers, और उसको और पैसा वो सब होता रहेगा. But there is no development when it comes to umpiring.
Gentlemen, let's call it a wrap. I've already overshot, and thank you, CS and Sandeep, for your time. It's very, very clear to the viewers that the experts feel it's a bit of a divided house, that one person says we need a foreign coach, the other person says that we don't need a foreign coach, but we need foreign experts to coach our Indian coaches. It's an interesting situation. Let's see how the South Africa tour goes, because Rahul Dravid and his team have been given an extension. We'll be back with much more, and there is so much to talk about. And thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Thank you.